Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling, as you see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today, where we'll be relaxing as per usual. Relaxing I suppose. What should I talk about today? I don't really know. There's something I was going to talk about, but then I completely forgot what it was. I remembered it like last night. I was like, oh, I should have spoken about this or something. And it was about something I did recently, but I can't remember. Like, I've not even done anything all that crazy recently on that. I'm trying to think, like, what would I have potentially spoken about if I had talked about it recently? You know, yesterday I played some more Lethal Company with my friends. The interesting thing was, at the start of a session, I was like, I wonder if Lethal Company is now veering into the stage where I'm like, I'm getting bored of it now. Like, you know, hold on, we'll get into that in a second. Hello everyone, right now in Fawnhallow at 6:11 p.m. on Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024. It's going to be hard to say 2024. Did I say 2023 yesterday? I don't even know. I can't remember. But I was like, is it veering into the stage where I'm like, it's becoming, you know, the sense of mystery and lure is gone from Lethal Company? Is that going to be the sort of thing which, you know, I spoke about it when I first played it. I was like, this seems like a game which only, at least for me personally, sticks around as long as, you know, that sort of mystery is still there, and as people get better at the game, my friends included, myself included, it loses its allure. I don't know necessarily if that's the case. And towards the start of the session, I was like, I think it's starting to be into that direction. But then it sort of like brought it back, I think, towards the end again. I don't know. Again, of course, I don't know how long it's going to stay in this sort of sweet spot of like, I'm still interested. I'm still having fun while playing it. But I suppose I'm always one to be more keen on wanting more rather than, you know, continuously playing until I'm like, I'm absolutely sick of this game. Cough cough Among Us. But yeah, what else happened recently? Like I played some more Root with my friends. We didn't finish the game, but we were playing on Tabletop Simulator. And I'm playing. We have 3 new factions in, so we're basically like, it's like we're playing all anew, all over again. And you might be like, 3 new factions is a lot, considering the fact you only played it once. And I'm like, yeah, probably. Almost certainly the better idea would have been just to stick with a base 4 until we like understand the rules of the game, and then we introduce new factions one by one so we can get used to them. But also, we're just kind of here to send it and like have a good time. Like, I'm not gonna say we don't know what we're doing, but more like, you know, we're all newbies at this sort of thing in first place, so, you know, does it really matter? And I had a general idea, I suppose, of how most of the people played, I suppose, so it wasn't too bad. It was the only it was only Lord of the Hundreds and Keepers of Iron, where I was just like, I know how they I know theoretically what their thing is, but I don't know how that mechanically translates in game. But yeah, sorry, I was just packing something away. But yeah, I'm playing a Rivervault Company. It's been very interesting. It's very much my sort of style. Like, one of my friends very well are just like, oh, dear darling, it seems like such your sort of style. You know, it's all about like making these bargains, very much interacting with other players rather than interfacing with the game mechanics, interfacing with the social mechanics of the games. And, you know, absolutely, I was like striking up bargains. I was like, well, if you want me to do this, you know, just tell me what you want. You know, I can do this for you, I can do this for you, and etc. etc. I'm getting to a point where I'm like, well, I'm starting to like accrue this sort of lead and this like army, but I'm like, I also realize I don't have a very good way to score points as this faction. Like, the only way I can score points is by crafting, but like, to also craft, I need to spend my own resources to draw cards in the first place, and then I need to spend those same resources to build things to actually craft in the first place. So it's like all my resources would have to be like 100% dedicated to crafting on, despite the fact I have a lot of resources. It's not enough. So now I've got this army, and I'm like, wait, no, but that means the only way I can actually get points is just by defeating the other factions. And I'm like, and getting points off the buildings. I'm like, but then the other factions can rent out my army as well, so then they can steal the points from me. And it's like, there's layers upon layer. My friend's playing the Corvus Conspiracy. That seems like a lot of fun and very chaotic. And my other friend's playing the Underground Duchy, which also seems kind of interesting. I wouldn't say I'm looking at those 2 factions, I'm like completely enamored with their playstyles, but that's, you know, probably part of course because they're not so much to my sort of playstyle. It's just like me playing with Rivervault Company. It's like, wow, I'm like a vagabond, except for I don't know how to score points. But that's because I'm bad at the game. Anyway, yeah, Lethal Company was fun. That was fun. Oh, that's what I was going to talk about. Because there was a new We Were Here game that came out. I think I actually did speak about this. We Were Here Expeditions, which I played through with my friend, and it was really fun. We got the gold. Yeah, no, wait, I did talk about that. That wasn't what I wanted to talk about then. We started playing a bit of Unravel 2, which was actually quite a lot of fun as well. The movement mechanics in that game, surprisingly good. I don't remember what I wanted to talk about. There was definitely something. I feel like it was game related. I don't really know. Oh, should we check out the winners of the Steam Awards? Let's see. Let's see who won what. Game of the Year? Unsurprisingly, Baldur's Gate. It would have been pretty crazy if Baldur's Gate didn't win. VR Game of the Year, Labyrinth. I voted for I Expect You to Die, despite the fact I knew none of the games. Labour of Love is Red Dead Redemption 2? What? The game which hasn't had an update for like 4 years or something? It's crazy that Terraria wasn't nominated for this, because Terraria is still going. Best game on Steam Award, Hogwarts Legacy. I voted for Dredge. Better with Friends. I voted for Lethal Company, because it is generally quite fun. Outstanding visual style, Atomic Heart. Interesting. Interesting is probably how I describe that. Atomic Heart, if you don't know, is like that Soviet or Russian-based game, and it's incredibly, I will say, incredibly horny, is all I know about it. Most innovative gameplay, Starfield? Really? Shadows of Doubt is that, and your only move is hustle. This is interesting. Best game you suck at Sifu. I don't know enough about Sifu to really say much. Best soundtrack, Last of Us Part 1. I didn't even know Last of Us Part 1 was on here. Outstanding story. Okay, Baldur's Gate, unsurprisingly won. David Diver. Sit back and relax. Those are some weird winners. Interesting ones. I feel like some of them got memed up there, but, you know, whatever. Who am I to decide what people want or not want to vote for it? I can't remember what I was going to talk about. Final Fantasy, Railroader, not interested in that. Call of Duty Warzone, absolutely not interested in that. Mostly negative now. What on earth happened? Witch on the Holy Night, never heard of it. Not interested. For Break-In, does not seem like my sort of game, but seems amusing. Executive Result, doesn't look like my sort of game. Jagged Alliance, not interested. Normally there's a game which sort of... Oh, Bokura. Here you go. It's a 2-player puzzle adventure game. I was going to say, normally there's at least one game in the Steam queue which sort of piques my interest. And this seems to be this one. Co-op puzzle platformer. How are reviews? Overwhelmingly positive. This looks like a gem. Hidden gem. Okay, I'll add it to my wishlist. Oh, that's so cute. Whatever's going on in here. Rooms of Realities. Escape room stuff. I don't know. Virtual escape room things are interesting, but I'm not like enamored by them, I would say. Dungeons 4, I have no idea what this is. Skip. I also found out there was a new Torchlight or something. Snowbreak Containment 0. Interesting. Skip. Moving Out 2. Played Moving Out 1. We've never really finished it. We've only played a few levels. Oh, we played some Play Up yesterday. Wait, was that yesterday? No, day before yesterday. Was that? No, day before yesterday, right? It was on New Year's. That was quite fun. Maybe this is what I was going to talk about. I was going to like further expand on the fact that Lethal Company, I feel like was... I think this applies to Play Up as well, like where it's becoming sort of like veering into the degree of being like I'm starting to not be interested in this game, because I spoke about this before, and it's especially so Lethal Company, which I think is exasperated the most. Is that games like Lethal Company, or maybe like Among Us is a better example. It's like my peak interest is always at the beginning. Of course, when everyone's learning things, I'm learning things. That's when like experimentation is at the highest. When you're learning weird things, you see a new monster. Oh, let's try doing something like this. Oh, I died. That's really funny. Or like, wait, what's happening? And then you die, and it's like something funny like that. Or like an Among Us, where you be like, oh, what if I like do this, and you catch someone out on a lie because you made the same mistake in like the previous game, and that sort of thing. That's when like peak interest is at highest, and then it slowly starts waning as people get better and better. Not because it's like, oh, people are getting better, that sucks. It's more like, to me, the lust of it, I suppose, is to do with a mystery, is to do with that process of learning, which is interesting because I'm very much, if you ask me if I would consider myself a destination or a journey-based person, I would say I'm very much a destination-based person. I know it, people like to go say like it's all about the journey, not the destination, and I do agree. I do like the journey as well. But if I am to be true to myself, if I'm to really reflect on myself and be like, do I prefer the destination or the journey? I think a lot of times I do prefer the destination. But it doesn't mean I can't appreciate the journey at the same time. But the thing is, like, with these sort of games, it is some, like, the lusters slowly start to get lost as, the sense of mystery about wonder disappear. It's no longer us having, like... I don't want to phrase it like this, because that phrases it wrong, but it's, like, it's no longer, like, bushy-tailed, bright-eyed, and doe-eyed or whatever, newbies at the game, like learning and having a wild time together for the first time. It's now becoming like more efficiency-based, being like, oh yeah, now we do that. There's less experimentation, there's less silly goofing about, because it's like, oh, now we know the best way to deal with it. I suppose what I mean by that for Lethal Company is that like when monsters start becoming less scary because, it's how you deal with them. Or maybe less of a threat is perhaps a better way to put it. So it's like, oh, I'm trying to think of a good example. Like eyeless dogs are like, oh, those are like so like threatening. The first time we like ran into them, we were like, wait, just instantly like wiped out the entire squad or something. Or like lightning on a stormy planet. But then it's like, now we know how to deal with it. It basically, it substitutes the fun of big discovery with a different sort of fun, which is the fun of like efficiency, the fun of attainment and achievement, which usually, strangely, is very much what I sign up for. Like, doesn't that seem inverted to how I like things? I'm basically saying, hey, if we're going by like Bardol's 4 gaming types or whatever, I'm like, hey, the things I like most about it are the explorer-based activities, and when it starts becoming more achiever based focus, I can't remember what the 4 pillars are called. That's when I lose interest, which is a complete opposite from how I normally am. I feel like a lot of the time I'm very much the achiever. I very much go by the achiever philosophy rather than the explorer philosophy. But it's interesting that. But anyway, as that's sort of happening, so I start to lose luster and luster for it. But I feel like I sort of pulled it back a little bit with Lethal Company, just like with a different attitude while playing it. And I did it along with Play Up, where I'm just like, okay, if it's becoming more efficient. My friends certainly are a lot better at the games and those 2 games than I am. Whether that be because they play a lot or whether because they're that treated better, I don't really know. I'm not really here to dissect that. What I'm here to dissect is my own opinions, because I'm really here. I'm the only one of my friend group which is here right now, so I can only really rely on my own anecdotes to talk about. But what I found myself enjoying it more was when I let myself be more of a cog in the machine, I suppose, within the gameplay cycle, rather than, because normally myself, I like to. I wonder if my friends would actually disagree with me with this, which is interesting. But I like to be in a leadership position more so than I like being in a follower position. The way I say it, there was this really interesting like question of a day which my friend did like a while back, which is basically along with sort of concept like, do you want to be the one calling the shot, or do you want to be the one taking the shot? And like this theoretical, like I think the fluff was like you're like in a spy film or something. Like, do you want to be like the announcer behind with the earpiece, or do you want to be the spy taking the shot? And I said, tell me, I would 100% every single time want to be the announcer in the ear, being like, take the shot, Bond, or something like that. You're like, a call needs to be made. Give it to me. I'm making that call. That's very much how I like to do things myself. So it's interesting that the way I found myself to be having more fun with these sort of games again, like pulling it out from that sort of like waning cycle, is by letting myself be just like a more passive observer, follower, and that sort of thing. Like when Play Up, when we were playing, it was just like, am I at all interested in like laying out how the tables and maximum efficiency, like what upgrades we need to get, min-maxing, etc., etc. I feel like, by the way I play, maybe if you look at like the way I play and how like efficiency based I am, you'd be like, yeah, Dylan, of course you would love to do that. But I found myself having more fun just letting my friend do it instead. and I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe this is discovery. Whoa, you can have fun playing games in different ways, and sometimes it calls for different experiences depending on the genre of game. Like, absolutely, if I was playing a puzzle game and my friend was like, oh, let me solve a puzzle for you, I'd be like, step back. Absolutely not. Don't ruin this with me. But in this sort of game, I guess the puzzle isn't, despite it being puzzle-y, it's not the puzzle which suits my fancy so much. I don't think that's... I immediately disagreed with that sentence as soon as I said it. But there's something about it. And it happened with Lethal Company as well, where I was just like, all right, I'll just like sort of like follow my friend. I'll be sort of a mule. For carrying things. I guess perhaps maybe if I was to try and distill it down to why it keeps my interest, is it still holds on to the social element which I love in games, which gets lost when things become more efficient, like a robot. When you have a well-oiled machine, just like machinery going, like, yeah, everyone's playing their parts, everyone's doing stuff, it can be incredibly satisfying. But I suppose by nature of these games, I'm not going into them with a mindset of I'm here to play it as efficiently as possible. I think that's doubly true of Lethal Company. I'm not here to meet the quota. Like, obviously I'm here to meet the quota and the fact that that's the only aim of the game, but like, whether I meet the quota or not does not matter. I'm here to chill out and have a maybe chill out's the wrong like turn of phrase, I suppose, for this sort of game, but I'm here to have a fun time with my friends. And I suppose by the fact that by it degrading in fun with me for me over time, by losing the sense of mystery and being replaced with a sense of efficiency afterwards, despite the fact that usually it appeals to me, that's not what I'm going to the game for. And by letting myself be more of a passenger in the journey, it's allowing me to hold on to the social element, which I still love, which is still there in the game. Just, by making it efficient, it's sort of like downplayed a bit more. It allows me to still have my own fun with it. I think that's an interesting theory. That's a very interesting theory, dear darling. And I'm inclined to believe it. That sounds like plausible in my head. The reason being that is it's a bit more of a social dynamic, I suppose, rather than being like, all right, here's my job, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. That is very interesting. And it's even more interesting to think of it in the context of plate art, because when it comes to Overcooked, I guess I kind of did the same thing subconsciously. I didn't realize it, because normally what I say when I play Overcooked, like, it's been a while since we played with friends, but I'm like, if we need to beat this level with some amount of stars, I will take leadership. I will be like, all right, you do this, you do this, you do this, we need this. And a lot of times when we play, I will sort of subtly do that. I won't be like, you do this, you do this. People do what they want, and I will just call out orders that we need, and I'll keep track of things like that, because that plays to my strengths. That's what I like to do, I suppose. And I suppose that's me going into Overcooked with the idea of, like, I want to make this a well-oiled efficiency machine. Maybe because I was already invested in Overcooked as a gameplay, as a game, I suppose, in the first place. While Plate Up was more one suggested to me by friends. If I didn't have my friends, it's quite like a grandiose statement. But like, if my friends never suggested for me to play it, I don't think I would ever play Plate Up. I don't even think I would suggest to them to play it with me, because I wouldn't be that interested in playing it. So I guess that's it. The same thing was a Lethal Company. I wasn't actually going to play it myself. It was my friends who invited me. I was like, hey, do you want to play this? And I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. So I guess, that's actually a very useful thing to learn, I suppose, going forward for me personally. Moving forward in these games, I got to understand, like, it's so like me to break this down analytically for really no apparent reason, but is it something which I am invested in myself? Like, maybe like Root is a good example. It's one I was already interested in and I wanted to play with my friends. I invited them and asked them to play. So I'm interested. That means the game's core mechanics have already gripped me in the first place. So when the game becomes more learned, when the sense of mystery is gone and it becomes more efficiency based, I am still gripped by it because it's the core concepts which held me to it in the first place. But when it's a game which my friends invite me to play and wasn't one that I would invite them necessarily to play, it's because it's the fact my friends are playing it, I suppose, that social element, while the mild interest in the game mechanics is what is drawing me to it in the first place. By me applying the same tactic I do all the times when I play games, being like, let's, play this, not cog and machine, but let's play the engineer, I suppose, also with making the wheel of a machine cogs turn smoothly in these sort of games. I'm robbing myself of my own enjoyment of it, because that's not what I'm signing up to the game for. But you know what? I think this has been a very useful moment of self-reflection. Usually these Animal Crossing episodes are just like moments of self-reflection, but that's actually like quite an enlightening one, which I've come to. I don't know if it's necessarily true. Maybe I'll think of it like a counter-example, but at the moment I'm like, that seems to hold pretty true, to be honest. I should engage, and I need to engage in games differently. Obviously, you always engage with games differently, but like my general overall attitude as the game goes on, the progression through the game goes, I need to engage on it differently depending on my initial... It's not depending on my initial reaction to the game. It's more like the initial reaction is a reflection of my my attitude to the game in the first place, and probably reflects my attitude to the game still. I've not really thought about that. Because I felt like for a while I could not reconcile that sort of discrepancy in my mind. And I always used to say it was thing like with social deception games. It's like, I don't like playing them after a while because I don't like lying to my friends. But then I always felt that inherently was an incorrect statement to me. Not because I don't like lying to my friends, but of course I'm not dumb enough that I can't distinguish between lying to my friends for the purposes of entertainment for a game compared to, you know, lying to my friends like in an actual harmful manner. That sort of dissonance always like rubbed me the wrong way, because I'm like, I always use that as like an explanation. I'm not sure excuse is the right word, but like the things that happened on like Among Us, and, you know, I eventually got quite bored of Werewolf as well. But maybe that doesn't hold true. Maybe it's because of like what eventually drew me to the game, and eventually, you know, for any game which I'm inherently interested in the mechanics itself, you know, eventually if I do get bored of them, like in the case of Werewolf, then maybe I'll start to lose interest in it in the same way. Well, it doesn't mean inherently social deception games are not something I want to stick with, because of this concept of me not liking to lying to my friends. Because I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. That would be the only reason, because then but basically sort of seems to suggest the idea that that there's no disconnect, I suppose, between reality and me playing my games in the first place, which would in turn I feel like would lead to the idea of like, oh, wouldn't that mean I'd hate the concept of role playing? And no, I absolutely love role playing. I remember a friend described it to me once, you know, when I said that to her, and she was like, oh, you know, I like social deception games because it feels funny, like I'm playing a part and I'm like getting this big betrayal off of my friends. You know, well, she does have that focus, I suppose, on the betrayal aspect, which is not necessarily something which appeals to me all the same, regardless of how true the statements I said before or afterwards are. I think the idea of playing a part, I suppose, is not exactly something which I don't do as well when I play these sort of games. What an interesting reflection. You know, I'm going to use this going forward, I suppose, to actually like help me go forward and make sure I always enjoy the games I play to the fullest, you know. So I don't know. That was actually something I was thinking about. That was what I wanted to talk about in Animal Crossing, because I was thinking about after I was playing Play It Up, and I was like, I was actually having a lot of fun just doing, you know, just like sitting back and like letting things happen, I suppose. Whatever. I had basically zero input in the discussion of like how to actually run the restaurant, and I don't know. It allowed me to enjoy it in a different way, I suppose. Maybe that will get boring after a while as well. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I just like the feeling of not being in control after a while, and I'll be like, you know, now I'm even doubly bored of this. Who knows? But, you know, self-reflection, this is what it's here for. Animal Crossing is for self-reflection. 20 minutes of self-reflection every day. Anyway, if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, discussion, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope to see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time. Bye-bye for now.